welcome back to another episode of the Systems and Workflow Magic podcast. If you are brand new to the Systems and Workflow Magic ecosystem, I wanted to say I am so thrilled you are here. Thank you so much. And so if you are joining in for the first time on the podcast or viewing us on YouTube, thank you. I am literally so thrilled that you are taking baby steps to better streamline the back end of your business so that the front end will feel more clear. So overall, it's so exciting. So on the podcast today, speaking of exciting, on the podcast today, I have a guest who was on my podcast exactly 1 year ago, and I had to look back, and Sarah's episode actually came during Christmas week. And I guess since this episode is supposed to air on my son's 5th birthday, I feel like Sarah only makes special appearances on milestone days. So this is Sarah, you guys. I'm so excited. And before she gives her introduction, I wanted to give a more formal introduction of who Sarah is so that you can get excited about meeting her. So Sarah is a content and video marketing strategist who specializes in short form video. So think like TikTok. She gets brands and biz owners visible online using the power of video so that they can tell their stories, tell their ish, and feel good while doing it. And when she's not nailing it on TikTok, Sarah loves going to wineries with her husband, cuddling her dogs, and jamming out to Broadway show tunes. And you all, these are all 100% accurate about Sarah. She does not make this bio up to be funny. Like, these are all true things. So, Sarah, welcome back to the Systems and Workflow Magic podcast. How are you?
I am so good, and I'm so honored to be here on all of these special days.
Yeah, of course. Only the special days for you, Sarah. You are seriously like a ball of joy in my corner of the interwebs. And you all, like, when I was doing Sarah's introduction, and I shared this a little earlier before, like, like sometimes people fluff up their introductions to make them sound like even cooler. I'm like, they don't actually do that. But you all, Sarah does all of these things and more. So her introduction doesn't even do her justice. And she is so much fun. I've only met Sarah online. She's like my Instagram friend, my online friend. And she has so much personality and so much zest for life. And so I'm really excited about having her on here, especially since we are going to be talking about how to use short form video in launching. And she's going to have a lot of fun things to add to that conversation. But before we begin, Sarah, do you mind giving an introduction to yourself with the audience? Like, did I miss anything in that introduction?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, but first I want to say that I'm honored that you think those things about me are cool because I've started leaning into my weird and my quirks, and so it's like Dolly thinks it's cool. But yes, I am Sarah Weiss, or On Brand by Sarah on the social media streets. And I used to be a speech language pathologist or a speech therapist, listened to a bunch of podcasts on my commutes. And I was like, I can start an online business. It's not a matter of if I'm going to start it, it's just a matter of when. And I have pretty much since I started my business been social media focused and very quickly adapted a love, and I'm gonna toot my own horn a little bit, but a talent for specifically marketing on TikTok. And so that is where I've landed now. And I love it on the TikTok streets.
Well, I think you should toot your horn, and people will quickly realize why we are tooting your horn so early on. Like, she is a real deal, you all. And that's why I invited Sarah back on the show, because we are going to be talking about TikTok. And or I should say, you are going to be talking about TikTok, because I know I am not the expert of the platform. And since we are in the middle of a launching series, if you are listening to this podcast live, or if you've been watching this YouTube series live, you know that we are in the middle of a launching series. And I invited Sarah on because I wanted to get her perspective on how to use TikTok and launching together because you could use both of these strategies together. And I wanted to get her perspective on how to merge these two concepts strategically. And I know I'm using all of this online business lingo like strategy and launching, but you all know this is how I roll, and I am really excited to get her perspective of this. So, again, Sarah, you know I am a strategy filled person on the podcast, and I like cutting it down to the nitty gritty. So let's just go straight to the tea. I want you to spill, like you say this phrase, you spill the tea on why using TikTok during a launch period. I mean, using TikTok is beneficial overall, but specifically during a launch period, why is it beneficial?
Yeah. So let's talk about a few things here.
Okay.
So TikTok has not always been the way that I'm about to say it is, but it is now. And TikTok is an evergreen platform. And don't worry, I will simplify literally everything I say. So when I say evergreen, it means that the content lives on for a long time. People can search it, it pops up months, if not years later. So we have to kind of be strategic during launch periods on TikTok because unlike Instagram, where we post in the feed and it lives on for like a day or two and it's very time sensitive, TikTok, the time sensitive stuff doesn't work in the feed. So, two things that we can leverage from TikTok during time sensitive launch periods are TikTok stories or lives on TikTok.
Oh, I didn't realize you can do both. I mean, I heard stories, but I didn't realize you can do lives. Okay, this is why we're having you on because I'm like, I don't know any of this.
Yeah, and something I want to caveat this with, and like you guys will, if you don't know me already, you will know that like I give it to you straight. If you are not on TikTok and posting content pretty consistently, only using it during a launch period is probably not going to help you because you have not built up any kind of audience on there. TikTok doesn't know who you are, who to push your content out to, what to serve you. And so it's definitely helpful if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I know that my people are on TikTok. I know that I'm going to be launching a ton of things in the new year. Like, let me actually get on TikTok and play. Dolly, you are very strategic and like you have your systems and workflows and strategies. And like, I 100% know and utilize strategy in my business. But a big part of my strategy and my client strategy is playing, which is a lot of the time what you have to do on TikTok.
Oh, that's a good point. You know, I will admit this, Sarah. I'm horrible at playing because I just want the book. I just want the roadmap, and I want somebody to hold my hand and say, "This is what you need to do." And then here, go forth. And so I love that you were speaking about the strategy of play because that speaks to a lot of creative minded business owners because they want to have fun in strategy. And meanwhile, I'm here, I'm like, I don't care about having fun. I just want to do things. And so I am so glad you brought that up because I will throw myself under the bus and admit sometimes I don't like to have fun.
Yeah, and this is such a funny visual. If you're not watching this on YouTube, it's like if you look at Dolly's background right now, it's like her quarterly plan and her calendar, and like you can just like tell and feel it in your bones. And let me tell you something. You are probably in the majority here. People, of course, if they're going to explore a new launch strategy, like of course they want a roadmap, like, "Tell me
Yeah.
what to do, tell me if it's gonna work, tell me how many times to do something, how to say it, who it's gonna hit with, what to change." Like, of course people want that, but when you're on platform like TikTok, where the culture, the platform is like nothing we have ever seen before, part of that strategy has to be playing and testing.
Okay, so from I'm gonna like literally take out this caption and say, like, you'll see this on Instagram, Sarah. Um, I will say you have permission to play as a strategy on TikTok. I'm just letting all the listeners and viewers know this. Like, this is what I'm getting from like I'm just like so excited about this talk already. Permission to play.
Yes.
Already like quoted that down. Okay, so I love that you said okay, so going back, you shared as part of a launch strategy 2 things. During a time-sensitive launch, you shared TikTok stories and TikTok lives are more like more prevalent for time-sensitive launching. Okay, what is the other side to that?
So we have to keep in mind because the feed, so like if you open TikTok, you're gonna automatically be scrolling through something called your For You page, which like if we're relating it back to Instagram is just like scrolling through your feed. When we scroll through that, the videos don't always appear in chronological order. You could post 3 videos in a row and maybe one gets pushed out today, one gets pushed out tomorrow. One doesn't end up picking up traction until like 6 months from now. Like I will give you guys a concrete example. I have 2 videos that I've posted like over a year ago already and they get traction every single day, meaning they get likes, saves, follows, comments, because they're now keywords that people are searching for. But for example, I'm trying to push my VIP weekends, which is where we get 30 videos done in a day. So what I did is I went onto my TikTok stories, which which are a place where you can post time sensitive things, and I mentioned dates. I showed behind the scenes. I use words like today, Black Friday, things like that because it's just like Instagram in the sense that it'll disappear after 24 hours. Um and I ended up getting 2 leads from TikTok stories,
Wow.
which
That's
is wild
amazing.
because that's a high ticket offer. And just like a little a little pivot to the conversation is like I always hear online service providers and coaches saying like, "Well, that's where I'll sell like my $27 ebook." Like TikTok is like really for like the low ticket people. But that's
It
a
seemed like
story
that.
that you're
Yeah.
telling yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. I mean, I am not you probably picked this up about me, Sarah, like getting to know me in the past year online, but I am not that much of a woo person at all. I mean, I guess that like kind of like goes hand in hand with I just said I don't like having fun. I don't like playing around. Like I just want to go straight into strategy and get everything done. But I really like agree. There is an importance of having a mindset going into a launch like since this is a launching series like heading into a launch like where is your mindset at like do you believe that not only believe but do you know that this thing that you're launching this service this product is credible will be transformational and also um do you believe it just like seems so woo wooey coming out of my mouth but it like you really do have to believe in the process in the product in the service and I love that you brought that up too that on TikTok you can even launch higher ticket offers and I'm so happy for you that that happened congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And let's dig into that for a
Yeah.
second. So like I always say I have not done as much professional development and as much personal development as I've done since I've become a business owner. It really
Yeah.
puts you to the test. But and I'm sure other people will probably talk about this during this series, but a big mindset shift that I had to get past when I'm launching is that if I'm sounding like a broken record, I'm doing a good job because people need to hear about your thing ad nauseum. Even though you're like, I just talked about it 2 days ago on my stories. I did a bunch of stories about it. Well,
Yeah.
let me tell you something. I think it was like last week or 2 weeks ago. I was cooking dinner and Instagram was open. And when I looked at my phone, it was just cycling through everybody's stories. So that business owner will be like, "Oh, Sarah viewed my stories. She saw that I'm selling something." But I didn't see anything. I was cutting onions.
Yeah,
So you never know who sees your stuff, how many times they're going to need to hear it before it clicks of like, "Oh my god, that is what I need. You just spoke to my soul about that."
yeah.
So you need to adapt the mindset, and I'm not saying it's easy
It's
at
not,
all
it's
by any
not,
means.
yeah.
It's a muscle that you have to flex, but you have to get into that mindset of like, I'm going to talk about my offer and sell my offer every single day, especially during a launch, because at the end of the day, I am a business. Sure, a lot of people listening to this are personal brands, meaning like Dolly and I, like our business is our name. We are the face of the brand. It is us, but we're businesses. So people should be able to like step into our storefronts on TikTok and Instagram and be able to seamlessly, easily hear what we are selling and take action.
Wow. Did you hear that, people? And Dolly, mic drop. Just that's so true. Like, I didn't realize we were gonna go here, but this I'm so glad you brought that up, Sarah, because there is not only a mindset shift that needs to happen during launching periods that will impact your launch, but also you need to step into the mindset of you are going to be selling this product, this service every single day until like you are blue in the face and you think everybody's heard it, but in reality like maybe 1 to 2% of your viewers of your list have heard it, have actually paid attention to it. I will 100% agree about that statement. I shared with the audience a couple of weeks ago that if you think that just because you mention something once and you mention and then you have to bring it up again and you're being annoying or overbearing, that's probably not the case because that person, your viewers, are only thinking about themselves, not in a narcissistic or an unhealthy way. Like we are all thinking just about ourselves, like how to best serve ourselves, how to get through the day, and like what's the best thing for us. And so, most likely, your viewers and your readers, subscribers, whatever you want to call them, they probably don't realize that you have this product or this service and you need to repeat it over and over again until it clicks, until like what Sarah was saying, like they could be standing at their kitchen counter dicing up those onions for an amazing Italian pasta dinner, and which I'm guessing that's what Sarah was cooking, pasta dinner, something Italian related. But you never know when it's going to click for a viewer. So be repetitive, and you can do it in a way that feels good for you. I believe.
Yeah, and let me tell you something, TikTok is the best place to flex that muscle because unlike any other platform, your content gets pushed out to new people every single time you post. That's how the algorithm is designed, whereas Instagram, Facebook, um, a lot of the times LinkedIn, because you even, like, get those notifications like, "Blah posted," like
Or like 25 people have viewed you, and I'm like, okay.
yes. Yeah. But anyway, sorry, I have, like, a personal vendetta against LinkedIn, but we'll talk about that another day. But
Oh,
anyway, TikTok is the perfect place to flex that muscle because you're getting pushed out to new people. So, 1, it's giving you an opportunity to get new eyeballs on your business for free
mhm.
every day, which on other platforms you would have to shell out ad spend for. And 2, it's a great place to test your messaging, to flex the muscle of the mindset of, I'm going to talk about this every single day because they're new people. They might have not seen you before. Maybe they need you to bring them all the way back to square one of the thing that you're launching. And so it's the perfect place to flex that muscle.
Um, I just randomly thought of this and I'm going to share it with you. I feel like I have to like confess this. So it took me it took me every listeners know this. It took me almost 2 years to actually start this podcast, and I should have started in 2019. I started in 2021 because I was just so fearful. Like, what are people going to think? Once I started it, like, I was like, why didn't I do this like 2 years previously? And then I have always wanted to start a YouTube channel for like longer, but I didn't because of fear of the comments, like YouTube comments, the trolls are real. Like, well, the trolls are real everywhere on the internet, but YouTube YouTube comments just like have a whole special section of trolls. And
They
that
do, it's true.
it stopped me for the longest time because I was like, what are people going to say or think or actually comment? And so I like did not show up on YouTube for years, even though I had like something to share, like education to share, services to share, products to share, just because of that fear. And now, like this year, you all know if you've been following me, I restarted my YouTube channel. I'm repurposing podcast episodes on it and sharing new YouTube episodes on it. But it has taken me forever to start doing those reps, flexing the muscle. And it's all because of that fear of, well, what type of comments am I going to get? What type of trolls are going to comment? And I just had to like get over that. And so part of that mindset shift, like Sarah is sharing, is you are going to have to take those steps to get over that. Like we can share so many tips and strategies, but you have to take those first steps to like get over like whatever is blocking you from like showing up on YouTube or showing up on TikTok, like Shara's sharing.
Yeah, and this is the perfect segue. So I know you didn't originally come up with this, but I know this phrase from you. And
Yes,
I always tag you in it on TikTok. I don't even know if you've seen the notifications, but anytime I say it, I'm always like quoting my friend Dolly DeLong Education. And I'm like, I don't even think Dolly goes on TikTok, but I still want to
I
credit you.
should. I need to like every time I see your stories about TikTok or we talk about TikTok, I'm just like, oh, convicted. I'm like, Sarah is right. I need to get on TikTok. So that is going to be after my YouTube hump, which is like now I'm getting over fear of being on YouTube. I'm going to step into my TikTok era. My TikTok era is
Yes.
about to start, people. Just wait.
Yes, but something that Dolly said at the very beginning of this year that I have adapted for myself, that I tell my clients, that I tell my members, that I tell all of my viewers is bless and blah. And it is so true. And I literally like we're laughing, but like it is so true.
Yes.
Remember, you're not being paid to be on a reality show where somebody else can write your story and you need to like get all of these comments. It is your corner of the internet. So
Mhm.
bless and block as you see fit. I'm not saying if somebody's disagreeing with you, don't, let people have their opinion. But if it's something that is renting so much space in your head, it is like horrifying to look at, or it's like so unaligned with everything that you believe in. My gosh, bless and block. Get rid of them and move on.
That is so true, and I'm glad that you remembered that because I was like, "I forget what I told her," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, bless and block." Totally forgot about that. By the way, who is joining us today? For those of you on the
Well,
podcast.
this is Benny the dude, my golden doodle, and he's holding his stuffed doggy that is his baby.
Oh, he's so sweet. Hi, Benny. You're a good boy. People
He
on
is a good
podcasts are like, "What is happening?" But on YouTube, you see the cute little Benny the doodle. So,
Yeah,
um
you could see his little afro.
oh, he's so sweet. Okay, so let's get into more about strategy in TikTok. So now that we have, okay, like you have literally laid out the sermon, the talking points of, okay, it's time to get over the mindset of I can't show up on TikTok. You can. And then you shared some good strategy points of if you're doing it live on TikTok or if you're launching currently, consider utilizing live and stories on TikTok. And then also a reminder, if you want to grow your brand awareness, you're going to have to show up on TikTok in like the off season of launching. So just to be consistent and to build brand awareness for you. So, what about actually like then let's get into the video creation process because I know this is part of your bread and butter, Sarah, of what you offer for your clients for your VIP experiences. So, how can business owners prepare videos? Like, what does that process look like?
Yes. Okay, so if you know anything about me, which some of you may not, I'm just going to tell you, I am a low energy girly. I have two chronic illnesses. I have fibromyalgia and chronic migraines. And I'm also just like, I'm a tired girl. But there are still ways that I show up every single day, and that is through batching my video content, which if you don't know what batching is, it's where I make a date with myself. I sit down for an hour. I pick like one day during the week. So, like a Monday, I'll sit down for an hour and I'll just bang out all of my video ideas. And I'm just recording. I'm not editing them during this time. I'm not thinking of the original idea during this time. I'm not writing the caption during this time. All I'm doing is recording because that's my highest energy task. And for a lot of you, even if you are not chronic illness peeps, maybe you're a busy mom, maybe you travel a lot, maybe you have a ton of client work. Batching literally saves you because it allows you to show up every day, even if it's not in real time.
And I love that. Even though I'm writing this down, even though it's not in real time. I love that you shared. I knew this about you, your chronic illness, and then you said low energy. And as females, like we also have to consider the fact like our cycles, like that's something
Oh,
that
absolutely.
I am trying to be more mindful of tracking my cycle because I realize there are certain seasons of the month. I don't want to say season, I don't know. Certain times in the month where I have way more energy than different times in the month. And I used to operate, well, I used to work for higher education and it was very male dominated and very male, lots of male energy. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm raising men right now, for goodness sake. But I had different energy levels than my male counterparts, and I it took me a long time to realize, like, oh my goodness, like my cycle is playing into this. Like I can't just like go 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 all the time. And so, if you're listening to this and you're like, I should attach a lot of articles, like these several articles about how to track your cycle and like how to match it with your energy levels. It's really interesting. And I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about that and trying to be more mindful of how to batch around my cycle.
Yeah, and I mean, you can cut this out if you want, Dolly, but
Yeah.
I actually did a podcast episode on my podcast with Jacqueline from the Menstrual Mogul, and
Oh,
we
I
talked
listened
all.
to it.
Yeah,
I'll
so
tag that to this
yeah, we
podcast.
talked all about your cycle specific to creating content and online business. But you're totally right. It's like that is also something that we have to take into consideration. And I think people when they hear TikTok or they see TikTok, it's like, oh my God, I have no time for that. I cannot show up every day. Like my kids are in the background screaming. My dog is like having an aneurysm outside. Like I can't do it. But there are there are ways to show up without having to show up every day in real time.
Yeah, I love that so much. And so in relation to launching, so let's bridge this back to launching. Let's
Yeah.
say that you have a launch that you're planning, then Sarah's suggesting that you take at least 1 hour a week and batch out videos that encompass like different facets of the launch. Would you agree? Like would you want to add anything to that, Sarah?
So I think something that's really important for TikTok is realizing that it's your very, very top of funnel,
Okay.
meaning it's where people discover you for the first time. It's your awareness platform, it's your discovery platform. That is where they're like, oh, I know who you are now. So, what a good strategy is to get people off of TikTok and onto a platform where you can do more nurturing about more time sensitive things. So, where I like to bring people usually is either to my Instagram because I live in my Instagram stories. I post a really healthy amount of personal content and business content in there, which makes people feel like super, super comfortable with me. And then another place I like to bring people is to my email list.
I love these points. Sarah, I'm gonna have to like send you money after this. You're like, yes, Venmo me. These are all really good things. So then I'm hearing you say, because I'm just like repeating back what you're saying. Then I'm hearing you say, since it's so top of funnel awareness, then the content that we need to be creating needs to be like awareness content. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, and that's why, like, I often see coaches commit to TikTok for like a month or 2, and they're taking their TikTok video and slapping the same video from TikTok onto Instagram, and it's not hitting. And they're like, well, why is it not hitting? And I'm like, because they're two separate awareness stages of your audience, which like now we're getting we're getting a little like into the strategy and into like the nitty gritty here. It's like when you are first seeing someone, you need them to almost bring you back to the starting point. You need to simplify your language. You need to make it content that's easily understood by, I don't want to say the masses because we should still be talking to our ideal client. I hate that phrase. I don't know why.
I
It's
think it's
just so
because
buzzwordy, but
it's used
we're
over
gonna
and
use
over.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna use it. You need to still be talking to your ideal human, but in a different way than we do in other places. Because if people are on our email list, they're on our Instagram, they've gotten exposure to us before, they've seen us before, they can easily like go into our stories and see what's happening, and so we need to kind of back it up for TikTok.
Okay, do you mind giving a tangible example of, okay, what type of content hits on Instagram for a launch versus then what type of content hits on TikTok for a launch? Like, they might be similar, but how are they different?
Yeah. Okay, so like an example for me might be like, so starting on TikTok, I can do a storytelling video where I was like, I remember when the only way I thought I was going to succeed in my business was with paid ads. That's how everybody was growing their audience and having new people come into their sphere, and I had no idea that I could do this for free on TikTok. So I'm essentially bringing people back to the beginning of like, if you don't want to use paid ads in your business, this might be a good marketing strategy for you. I might bring a similar idea over to Instagram, but present it in a different way because maybe people on Instagram have tried paid ads before. Maybe they're like already convinced about TikTok, but now they need more of a strategy. So maybe I might do a video about like the 7 places for keywords in a TikTok video because they're already past that awareness stage of like, I need to be on TikTok. And now we're taking the audience through, okay, now what do you do when you're on there? And then with your email list, you might even be able to go a little further of like, okay, you're on there and you're doing and you're putting keywords in the right place. Now, how do you convert those viewers into paying customers? So you see, like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Again, low energy girly over here. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to take the content and present it in a little bit of a different way.
I love that. And I love this reminder too that you are trying to get cold audience members or cold leads to be nurtured on, like, go from colder to warmer to warmest, it sounds like, and nurture them in different ways on these platforms. And It did not, to be honest. If you're watching this, I'm, like, using, like, a lot of hand motions. If you're listening in on this, I will be completely honest. This concept did not click in my head for easily for over, I'm gonna say, for over 2 years. Like, I would say it to people, like, because I would hear it from the gurus. I would hear it from the Amy Porterfields of online business, and I would say, "Okay, yeah, well, this is what they say, so it must be true," and I would just, like, repeat it over and over. But honestly, like, this year is when it's, like, started to click, like, "Oh, like, I need to make, like, I could create the same content but present it in different ways on different platforms and then nurture my audience in, like, deeper ways the further they get in their client journey with me, if that makes sense." Like, so on my email list, they, like, get more meat from me or more tea from me because they are have decided to be a part of that community versus somebody that just finds me. I'm not on TikTok, but I do a lot of Instagram marketing. So somebody who finds me on Instagram, I'm not going as deep. I'm going deeper with my email list.
Yeah. And let me just tell you something. That is the typical journey. However, because TikTok is so like casual,
Mhm.
like it literally feels like you're on FaceTime with someone. I have had people go from
Cold to
icy
hot.
cold to burning hot in
That's
like
amazing.
a day. It doesn't always happen. Like I'm not one to be like, you're gonna get a million leads in 24 hours. Like, no,
Yeah.
that's usually not how it happens. But because it feels like you're just sitting down, like we're doing a FaceTime, I'm like telling you all the goodies. Like I have had that's why on my TikTok stories, if somebody was interested in what I was saying about my product or service, and then they binged a ton of videos on my TikTok because I put that effort in before I was launching something, then that's like the perfect recipe.
I love this. Sarah, you are just amazing. And I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad Benny's here too. He's like
Yeah,
popped his
Benny
head
and his
up.
afro.
It just makes me so happy. Okay, so we talked about batching video content and then creating specific content for TikTok, which is a different awareness phase altogether, or very, very top of funnel. I know, like, we're using all this jargon for those of you who are listening or watching. Like, top of funnel is like the very beginning of the client journey, and it's a reminder that content hits differently on Instagram versus TikTok. I'm so glad you reminded us about that. Okay, then how do you keep track of your launch content ideas? Because let's say you're in a launch and, like, let's be real, like, a lot of us are really scattered and we might be all over the place. And, like, how do we remember, like, okay, like, did I post this here or did I post this on Instagram? I'm confused. What is your strategy and system for keeping track of everything that goes into a launch?
Okay, I'm gonna give you the what usually happens answer, and then I'm gonna give you the in a perfect world, Sarah would dot dot dot
Okay.
answer. So in a perfect world, and what I would love to recommend to you because it's free,
Mhm.
is if you use a project management system like Airtable, that is where I've literally found like the easiest way to keep track of everything.
Mhm.
That is what I would do because you're able to like put your video idea. You could even upload your video. You can like set, was it posted? Is it in my drafts? Did I post it on Instagram, TikTok? You can be very organized that way. My real answer, which is probably gonna make Dolly cringe, but like I keep it real over here,
Yeah.
is I typically do things in my notes app on my iPhone.
Yeah.
And I will because I don't know about you, but like I have the best ideas at the weirdest times. Like it'll be like 3 a.m. I just went to the bathroom. I'll come back to my bed and I'll be like, oh my God, I have a great video idea. Or like, oh, I have a new mastermind idea and I'll write it down in my notes app. But anyway, that's where I keep my running list of video ideas. And so it's super easy for me to be like, Instagram, TikTok, email. Just write it next to it. So you can just think of yourself and your brain and what is manageable for you, because the
Yeah.
worst thing that you could do with this is try and implement a system that you're never going to use because it's overwhelming, it's not sustainable, it's like you're not going to touch it, versus using a system that might not look as pretty as the gurus present, like
Mhm.
a notes app or a piece of paper. I
Mhm.
have a note I'm such a pen and paper girly. I have a notebook sitting right next to me right now. So just think like, okay, in my heart of hearts, what am I actually going to do? How can I actually keep track of this? If it's literally making columns in your notebook and that's the way that you're going to bang out content, I love it. I love it for you. If you want to get a little bit more organized, and again, Airtable is completely free,
Mhm.
and organize things in there, go for it, but just whatever is gonna be sustainable for you.
I love it. I will share that I use Trello. That's my project
Yes.
management tool of choice, and I have a column on my business. I call it my business operations board. So like literally everything lives on this master board and on this one um column list is called Dolly's parking lot ideas. So if I have an idea, I write it out on a card,
I love
dump
it.
it there, and that way it doesn't have to live in my brain because like Sarah was saying, like there is so much going on in our lives. Like we're taking like we have spouses, we have kids, we have dogs, we're foster dog parents like Sarah, or like we are trying to cook, we like meal plan, like all the things, we're just trying to live. And so I know if I just assume, oh, it'll be in my brain tomorrow, I will not remember it for the life of me. So I usually do, and I pull it up on my app on my phone. So Trello has an app, and I'm sure Airtable. I don't know.
It does,
Okay,
yeah.
so look for your preferred project management tool and see if they have an app version, and that way you can just like open up the app on your phone and dump it and go. I get a lot of my ideas, Sarah, when I'm walking in the neighborhood. I'm like movement helps me out, and then of course when I'm in water. So like obviously I'm not an elite swimmer, so everybody's listening like, oh, does she swim? No, it's just when I shower. It's just like when water hits me, I'm like, oh, all the ideas are flooding over me.
Same.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't keep my phone in here because it'll get destroyed. But I'm like, I'm like bursting with ideas after I take a shower. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah. Okay, and this just made me think of one more idea, and it's
Yeah.
so helpful for TikTok because we know on TikTok we have to put out a lot of content. If
Mhm.
you are not like a type it out girly or a pen and paper girly, something that has helped me get content ideas flowing, especially during launch periods where I know that I need to put out a ton of content, is either opening up a voice memo or a Voxer message to myself and just word vomiting, brain dumping, riffing on like everything about the offer, everything about the transformation, everything that people might be confused about.
Yeah.
Is just using your voice, because I'm telling you, once you get into that mode of just like word vomiting it out, you are going to get so many ideas.
Okay. This is a dumb question. I'm going to ask it anyway. Like with Voxer, I didn't realize you can do that with Voxer. You can just like message yourself. That I
Yeah.
know that sounds so dumb. Like I did not know this.
No, I didn't know it either. I didn't know it either until I was like, let me test it out. But you could do it on Voxer, or you can do it just like if you have an iPhone, just open up like a voice
Yeah,
memo and
I love it. And
just
does it
riff.
save it? Is it for free on Voxer or do you have to have the paid version?
Oh, I think it's free. I literally just upgraded to the paid version
Yeah.
yesterday. So I've
Well,
only been using the free version.
that is so amazing. Okay, first of all, I've been learning so much from you, Sarah. So thank you so much. I know we talked about a lot in this episode, and so for those of you who are listening in or watching, you may want to rewatch, re-listen, take loads of notes, start voxering yourself, and take notes as ideas come out. But before I let you go, I wanted to ask you several more, just like closing questions, closing statements. How can a person find you, work with you, and honestly get to love you more, because, Sarah, I've just like grown to love you, and I really want other people to find you and work with you.
Oh, I love you so much. I literally told Dolly the other day because like, you'll hear on the podcast, she is like the sweetest person, but she has the best, like, dry sense of humor ever. Like, it just makes my whole life because you wouldn't expect it out of her. But okay, you can find me on TikTok or Instagram at On Brand by Sarah. And if you are interested in what we talked about today and you're like, oh, you're talking about going from like TikTok to Instagram to email, I made a whole private podcast called The Social Media Sales Funnel for Coaches and Service Providers. So it's really tailored to us, like what
Mhm.
we do, because it's different if you have like a product-based business or a brick and mortar. So you could find that right in my link in bio, or I'll send the link to you too, Dolly, and you could
It'll
put it
be
in the
in the
show
link.
notes. Again, it's
Yeah.
completely free and it's all audio, so you could listen while you're chopping your onions, while you're in the shower, while you're walking. And then if you want to find more ways that we can work together, just go to go.onbrandbysarah.com and I have all my juicy links in there.
I love it. And Sarah, I'm not really that sneaky about like, oh, by the way, like Sarah's going to be a part of the Systems and Workflow Magic bundle. Like, I'm not really good at being, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, discreet. I just like lay it all out for people. So the reason why Sarah is part of the series is because she is an amazing rock star contributor for the bundle again. And she is contributing something amazing for this bundle. And Sarah, do you mind sharing with the listeners just like what to expect from you from this specific launch bundle and why it's going to be rocking?
Yes, and this is literally perfect because so I just talked to you guys about like an Airtable base, like in a perfect world, we would dot dot dot. So I'm contributing a resource called The Ultimate Guide for Low Energy Content Creators because we know we have to put out a ton of content during launch periods. And so it is a full ebook with all of the low energy content ideas and strategies that you could ever want. And then I included my Airtable template that I use with myself and my private clients in there for you. So you can just copy it into your own Airtable base and use it. And I have like a whole video tutorial if you're like, what is Airtable? Like I've never used it before. I have a whole tutorial. And so you'll also get that when you download the Ultimate Guide.
Sarah, I'm so excited. And for those of you, just like a reminder, Sarah was a contributor for the Systems and Workflow Magic Funnel bundle, and she spoke about the power of top of funnel marketing with TikTok. And so that's why, like, her, I mean, she brought so much magic to the bundle the first time, so I'm really excited that she agreed, she said yes to me again to be a part of this bundle. And so for those of you who are interested in the Systems and Workflow Magic bundle, the launch edition, and you're just wanting to learn what the heck a launch is, the different phases of launching, different resources to consider for, I guess I should say, different puzzle pieces and aspects of the different phases of launching, because a lot goes into launching and it can be overwhelming. And the last thing I would want for you, the listener and the viewer, to do is just to throw out a launch like next week and then not know like why it was a flop or why, like, what didn't feel well. I want you to be prepared and know the different phases. So this is what the Systems and Workflow Magic Bundle is all about, the launch edition. And we have over 30 different contributors this year. And again, all talking about the different systems and workflows and puzzle pieces of launching. So Sarah, thank you so much again for being on the podcast. I am thrilled and honored you agreed to come on again. And for those of you who are listening or watching, don't forget the show notes have all the links and resources mentioned in this episode. Please be sure to tag me and Sarah and let us know what your favorite points were. And mostly, I want, like, I really, really hope that this has helped encourage you to take baby steps with some sort of system and workflow or SOP, standard operating procedure, to help impact the back end of your business. And like Sarah was saying, if it's just like one, like opening up your app, your notes app, and like creating a system for yourself on your notes app, and you do that today, then that's a win in my mind, because I want you to create some sort of system for yourself. And just, I hope you remember you can do incredible systems and workflow magic in your business and life. You amazing muggle, you. And I will talk to you all next week with a brand new episode. And until then, have a great day. Bye.